We got some Big Ten scheduling news, Joey. The Big Ten finally announced its new scheduling format, which includes protected rivalries, but not a given number. So Penn State has 0 protected rivalries. Should we all laugh at them for that? No protected rivalries since being in the league since 1993. But then you have a team like Iowa who has 3 protected rivalries. But it comes out Illinois sensibly has Purdue and Northwestern as their protected rivalries. And then they get a 2-play for 2 seasons in 2024, 2025. It's Ohio State. So the Illinois lives on. Illinois hasn't played them in a while. COVID season game got wiped out. So that's a difficult 2-play, but you do get Northwestern and Purdue, which I think makes a lot of sense. But they unleashed the 2024-2025 schedules. And the 2024 schedule, Joey, is a bear. The 2025 schedule is a little bit more digestible for Illinois. But what do you think of what the Big Ten did here? We'll get into the schedules each season. We'll get into the protected rivalries. But just overall, what do you think of what the Big Ten did here?
Obviously, if you're a program like Illinois, you're going to miss the divisions because you had a chance to win the West, the way Brett Bielema has his program trending. But I like that it's, I know the pod system had gotten a lot of buzz kind of early in this, where you'd put 3 teams or 4 teams in a pod and see where that went. That felt, I don't think it would have been a bad idea. It felt clunky. I really like this. Actually, protect the games that matter. Now, you can nitpick a little bit, right? Like if you're Illinois, you'd like to see Iowa, probably. It was kind of a fun rivalry, but there's 3 other teams Iowa has bigger rivalries with than Illinois. So I think you get a little bit of the best of both worlds, and I'm sure Illinois fans will need to be past the 2025 season when you have a 2-play with Ohio State to maybe feel that. But I like this. I like that you keep those rivalries. I think that would have been really difficult to do in a pod system. You'd have had people unhappy with how that landed out. But I think this is good. We do have to, Jimmy, I'll sell us out a little bit. We've got to pull back the curtain when things start to buzz midway through the afternoon. And we saw Ohio State on the possibility, we heard, I should say, the possibility of Ohio State in 24 and 25. We thought, are they really going to protect this as a rivalry? Because this makes 0 sense.
Right.
So the 2-play makes a lot more sense. But that was a stretch that we chatted about for about, I don't know, a half hour, 45 minutes today trying to sort that out.
Yeah, I know there's a trophy game, but it's not a rivalry. Like Ohio State does not consider it a rivalry. Illinois does not consider it a rivalry. Ohio State's in a different tier of college football. Like there's the top tier of teams that can, potentially be a national title contender every year. And then there's everybody else. And Illinois is trying to get in maybe that tier below everybody else instead of being below everybody else. Anyway.
Can you imagine, though, going to a TV deal and being like, hey, we got a hit for you here. Primetime ABC, Illinois, Ohio State every year. Right. That doesn't work when you have the other schools in this country.
Now, Illinois every 10 years or so will have that big game against Ohio State. But, man, yeah, it's not a rivalry you should protect. That is for sure. And, I know it's a tough draw, Ohio State with the 2-play, but let's be honest, Northwestern, Purdue, that's a favorable draw to have every year you have those 2 teams. But I want to applaud the Big Ten here. Like I think this is creative, Joey. I think it's more creative than the 3-6-6 format, which is probably easier to digest, but protecting 3 teams, it's really difficult. You're going to miss out on somebody, and to lock somebody into a schedule with 3 rivals every year, it could be a little bit difficult, but it would have been a little bit easier because you can kind of do 6 opponents for 2 years, then the other 6 opponents for 2 years, and you get to play everybody. This is going to take a little bit more creativity and I guess logistics for the Big Ten scheduling department. I'm not a big schedule release guy, Joey. I don't get too excited about these things. This is a huge change, but like the work that has to go into schedule 16 teams or 32 in the NFL, I always find really fascinating. But I do think I want to applaud the Big Ten for being creative here. Here's the rivalries that are protected. Illinois versus Northwestern and Purdue, Michigan with Michigan State and Ohio State. Makes sense. Northwestern has 1, Illinois. Rutgers has 1, Maryland. Maryland has 1, Rutgers. Makes sense, right? Nebraska has 1 with Iowa. Iowa has 3, Minnesota, Nebraska, Wisconsin. All trophy games, all matter, right? Indiana only 1 with Purdue. Michigan State only 1 with Michigan. I thought Michigan State USC could have been 1. You get the Spartan kind of thing there, the Warrior thing, but Ohio State 1 with Michigan. It's the only game that really needs to be protected there. UCLA and USC only 1. Wisconsin has Iowa and Minnesota. Purdue has Illinois and Indiana. So I thought they did. Those are the games that matter. Those are the rivalry games that matter, the traditional ones that really matter. And then you rotate everybody else out. So I do want to applaud them for that. But the other take here is, Joey, 2024 for Illinois. What a bear of a schedule that is. I do have it on our screen here. I know it's a little hard to see. I'll try and enlarge it here a little bit. But Illinois in 2024 draws Michigan State or Minnesota. Let me get this right. That's the 2024. Yeah. Michigan State, Northwestern, Ohio State, Rutgers, and USC on the road. They have Iowa, Maryland, Michigan, and Purdue at home. So they got Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, and USC all in the same season. 3 of those games on the road. And as you wrote, Joey, in your takeaways, only 3 West opponents. So you think of 2024. To me, that is Bielema's really his first roster of his team. You're not going to have Johnny Newton. You're not going to have Keith Randolph, Isaiah Adams, and Julian Pearl. We'll see who else is draft eligible. Is Seth Coleman there? But Lovie Smith's roster is basically gone, and you're going to have a lot of question marks there. Now, maybe that's a good thing because you have more depth, but some of your stars are going to be gone. So 2024, finding 6 wins, getting to a bowl game, I think would be a success for that year. I know it is a year away. I know Brett Bielema's expectations are higher, but given where the roster will be, given the schedule you have, that's going to be a difficult season.
It is. I'm trying to pull up the non-conference in 24: Central Michigan, Kansas, Eastern Illinois.
Yeah,
probably need to do some work there.
You need to go through there. Yeah,
but that's a tough one to come out of the gates with, because like you said, those stars, those all Big Ten guys, they're going to be in the NFL cashing paychecks. So I don't know, man. Like, you don't want to write anything off because it's a long way away, but it's really coming down to me to getting Ohio State twice coming out of the gates in that pick 2. You knew you were going to play some of these other teams. You're going to play a lot more teams more frequently than you had, but yeah, that's a bear, man. And you're talking
welcome to the new format
with Rutgers and USC. Now that's going to be, I have to imagine that's going to have a scheduling gap between those 2 trips, but yeah, that's a new Big Ten. Like, that to me exemplifies the new Big Ten. I mean, Illinois scheduled 3 West teams. Then you have 6 teams that you wouldn't have seen. I mean, you may have seen a few, I suppose, but huge change, man. Huge change.
And then let's go to 2025. Now, the flip side of this is 2024 is difficult, but 2025, Luke Altmaier's in his 3rd potential year as your starting quarterback. These guys have been established. You've built your depth. You're kind of hitting your stride. Malik Elzy will be a junior, right? Like, that's what we're thinking about here. This schedule you got to like. I know you got Ohio State at home, but UCLA's at home, Northwestern at home, Minnesota and Indiana at home. On the road, at Wisconsin, not easy. At Penn State, not easy. At Nebraska, we'll see where they're at with Matt Rule. But at Purdue, that feels like more of a schedule you can do some work. So I guess my whole point is, I think Illinois in 2023 got a chance to make some hay in the last year of the Big Ten West. I think Illinois will be a West contender. I think they have a favorable schedule as long as they take care of business in the non-conference, which isn't easy with Toledo at home and on the road at Kansas. But the rest of the West, I think, is there for the taking outside of maybe Iowa, but you beat Iowa last year. You know, Wisconsin has a new coaching staff. Purdue has a new coaching staff. Nebraska has a new coaching staff. Northwestern's been in the dumps for 3 of the last 4 years. I think Illinois has a real chance. So I think it's important for them to take advantage of that. And then 2024, just kind of a difficult road. I'm not throwing away that season, but it's just a difficult road. But 2025, it's a little bit easier of a road, or a little bit more favorable of a road when your program, I think, is really going to be hitting its stride under Bielema.
Yeah, ideally you flip 2024 and 25 if you're Illinois. I think you'd rather have your 25 team, or you know what I mean, the 24 team against that 25 schedule and vice versa. Well, you made the point you made about needing to maximize this year. Does it not make last year, the way that kind of tuckered off down the stretch and a chance to go to Indianapolis and really get all of these eyeballs on you and get all of that buzz, that makes it sting a little bit more? And we knew, Jeremy, in the moment, like, okay, the divisions are going to go away when USC and UCLA come. But to me, it feels a little bit different when you actually see it and you see Michigan State, Ohio State, USC in the same season. That's where you're like, Oh yeah, right. They're gone, and that the sting of November last year maybe feels a little harder to stomach now that you see what's ahead of you in these next 2 years after the 23 season.
Yeah, the 2 first months of the season, Illinois took a huge stride forward, right, and really helped this program propel forward. But there was also a missed opportunity, so it was a mixed bag a little bit last year because you didn't close on that opportunity. You weren't able to close out some of those games. I know some people want to point towards refs and the Purdue game, Michigan game. I think you have a legit gripe there, but they also just failed to close out games. Mississippi State. I was talking to an Illinois assistant yesterday, Joey. I was like, that game. We should have had that game. And that one meant a lot to them. If you finish 9-4, win your bowl game on January 2nd, that could have helped you a little bit more in your cell as well, and just learning how to close out those games. So that's the next strides they have to make, and we'll see if they could do that this year. I probably buried the lead here a little bit, Joey, but divisions are gone, and now you have a Big Ten championship where it's just the 2 top teams in the standings. And I think that's fair. Listen, I know this hurts Illinois, but it would have been more interesting probably with Michigan and Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, even if it's back-to-back weeks that they're playing. But this does hurt Illinois when you're talking about a Big Ten championship game. But I still think there's the goal now, if you're Illinois moving forward, once you get to a 12-team playoff, is to get to that playoff. And if you finish third, you are going to be in that playoff. If you finish fourth, you have a chance, I think, to be in that playoff if you have some impressive wins and maybe you're 10-2 or something like that and a 6-2 record in the Big Ten. So I think that's now the mark for Illinois and any other team that's maybe not Ohio State or Michigan, but it's to get into that college football playoff. That would be as important as getting to a Big Ten championship game. Because let's be honest, there was that prize there for Illinois to get to a Big Ten championship game last year, but they probably wouldn't have won that, right? Now they would have been playing Michigan. They almost beat Michigan, so I can't really say that, but the West hasn't won it. So I do find it interesting. Some people are saying this hurts Illinois. I think that's possible, especially when it comes to a Big Ten championship. But I think the standard now is getting to the college football playoff.